Standing at a financial crossroads, one path promises security through a steady job, the other, wealth by making money work for you. Robert Kiyosaki was caught between his educated, struggling poor dad and his wealthy high school dropout rich dad. His poor dad preached, "Study hard, get a safe job." His rich dad countered, "Learn how money works, so it works for you." This paradox forced Robert to think, compare, and choose an unconventional destiny. Which path will you take? Ignoring this choice keeps you trapped.
Welcome to Audio Book Bites, where we distill wisdom from literary gold. Today, we're diving into Robert Kiyosaki's seminal work, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, specifically exploring the rat race revealed, money as a master or servant. This chapter hits you with a fundamental truth that many overlook. Kiyosaki recounts a pivotal childhood experience, a seemingly simple first job from his rich dad. You see, having two dads offered me the choice of contrasting points of view, one of a rich man and one of a poor man. His rich dad, eager to teach, put the 9-year-old Kiyosaki to work for mere pennies, just 10 cents an hour, and then, suddenly, for free. This wasn't about exploitation. It was an immersive lesson, a visceral taste of the rat race he would spend his life trying to escape. He observes how most people get caught in this cycle, driven by powerful emotions. Here's the catch. Fear of not paying bills pushes them to work harder, and then greed, the desire for nicer things, makes them spend that money, trapping them further. It's like a hamster on a wheel, running furiously but staying in the same place. This isn't just about income, it's about a deeply ingrained mindset. Kiyosaki's poor dad would often say, "I can't afford it," a phrase that immediately shuts down the brain, extinguishing possibilities. But his rich dad had a different mantra, "How can I afford it?" This simple shift from a statement to a question ignites problem solving, opening doors to new opportunities instead of closing them off. The core principle that emerged from these lessons is profoundly transformative. "I don't work for money," were words he would repeat over and over. "Money works for me." This isn't just a catchy slogan. It's a call to action. It's about understanding that money itself is a form of power, but financial education is even more powerful. It's the ability to make intelligent choices, to see opportunities where others only see obstacles, and to transform fear and desire into motivation for building assets that generate income. Many might object, thinking, "But I need a steady paycheck to be secure." But Kiyosaki argues that relying solely on a paycheck makes you a slave to money. Imagine waking up each day not bound by the immediate need for a paycheck, but knowing that your money is diligently working, growing your wealth independently. Therefore, true financial freedom comes from building an asset column, a system where your money works for you, rather than you perpetually working for it. The bottom line, the rich understand that financial freedom isn't about how much you earn, but how intelligently you make your money serve you, rather than the other way around. 2. Assets versus liabilities. Welcome back to Audiobook Bites. Today, we're diving deep into Robert T. Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, specifically exploring the foundational lesson of the ledger of destiny, assets versus liabilities. This isn't just about accounting, it's about shifting your entire financial mindset. Kiyosaki introduces a distinction that sounds deceptively simple, yet it's the bedrock of sustainable wealth. Rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets. So what truly defines an asset? An asset in Rich Dad's world is anything that puts money in your pocket. A liability, conversely, is anything that takes money out of your pocket. You might be thinking, "But my house is an asset, right?" This is where Kiyosaki challenges conventional wisdom. For many, their home is seen as their biggest investment and their greatest asset. But here's the catch. If your home generates expenses, mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, it's actually behaving like a liability, consistently taking money out of your pocket. Therefore, clinging to the idea of your home as your primary asset, especially if it's a drain on your cash flow, is a trap that keeps the poor and middle class stuck. The core struggle for the poor and middle class often stems from this fundamental misunderstanding. They mistakenly acquire items that look like assets but function as liabilities, perpetuating a cycle of working harder just to pay bills. Rich Dad used to repeat, "I don't work for money," were words he would repeat over and over. Money works for me. This isn't about magical thinking. It's about a deliberate strategy to acquire income-generating assets, not just accumulate possessions that demand more money. Imagine a future where you clearly understand which items on your personal balance sheet are truly working for you and which are silently draining your resources. This clarity empowers you to make intentional choices. Begin by listing everything you own and everything you owe. Then honestly ask yourself, does this item put money into my pocket or does it take money out of my pocket? Challenge every assumption, every piece of good debt advice, and every emotional attachment to something that isn't serving your financial freedom. This simple exercise is the first step towards building a robust asset column, allowing your money to work for you rather than you working for it. The bottom line, money is one form of power, but what is more powerful is financial education.
3. Mind your own business. Ray Kroc, the visionary behind McDonald's, once posed a surprising question to an MBA class. What business do you think I'm in? Most students, of course, confidently blurted out, hamburgers. Kroc just chuckled. His real answer? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not in the hamburger business. My business is real estate. This anecdote drives home a powerful, often overlooked truth that my rich dad hammered into Mike and me. There's a fundamental difference between your profession and your business. Your profession might be what you do for money, being a doctor, an engineer, a teacher, a chef. It fills your income statement. But your business, that's what builds your asset column. My educated poor dad, like many, focused his entire life on his profession. He believed in working hard for a secure job, thinking his paycheck would eventually lead to financial comfort. But his focus was always on the income generated by his labor. "I don't work for money," were words my rich dad would repeat over and over. Money works for me. He understood that true financial security comes not from how much you earn, but from how much you own that earns for you. Most people spend their lives chasing higher paychecks, promotions, and better benefits. But here's the catch. As your income rises, so do your expenses and taxes. This traps many in what he called the rat race, perpetually running harder just to stay in place, never truly building wealth. Therefore, to break free, you must shift your focus from merely working for money to having money work for you. So what does this asset column look like? It's not just a fancy car or a bigger house. Those are usually liabilities, draining your pocket. Instead, think about businesses that operate without you. You own them, but others manage them. If you have to be there, it's a job, not a business. Stocks and bonds, paper assets that generate dividends or interest. Income-generating real estate, properties that bring in rental income, not just appreciate in value. Notes, IOUs, lending money and earning interest. Intellectual property, royalties from books, music, patents, money that flows in long after the initial work is done. These are the things that actively put money into your pocket month after month, year after year. You might be thinking, that sounds complicated, but it's about learning the game. Imagine waking up tomorrow and your business, your real estate, your investments are generating enough cash flow to cover all your monthly expenses. That's financial freedom. That's the power of financial education. Money is one form of power, but what is more powerful is financial education. The bottom line, your profession feeds you today, but your business builds your future. Stop confusing the two and start building your asset column.
Welcome back to Audiobook Bites. Today, we're diving deep into a subject that makes many people squirm: taxes, and how the rich master the system to their advantage. We're exploring the corporate shield from Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Imagine a world where taxes were only temporary, levied just to fund a war, and then disappeared. That's how it used to be. But then politicians got clever. They told the poor and middle class that taxes would only punish the rich. It was a brilliant marketing campaign, and the masses voted it into law. Here's the catch. Once government got a taste of money, its appetite grew, and soon taxes trickled down to everyone, especially the very people who voted for them. You might be thinking, that's just how the system works, right? But here's where the rich dad's wisdom comes in. My educated dad, for all his degrees, believed that more taxes for the rich would help the less fortunate.
But my rich dad saw it differently. He knew that the rich don't just sit there and take the punishment. They react. They play a different game. Therefore, they leveraged a legal structure that became their greatest shield, the corporation. A corporation isn't a big factory or a group of people. It's simply a file folder, a legal document sitting in an attorney's office, registered with a government agency. It's a legal body without a soul. This legal entity is what allows the rich to pay their expenses before they pay taxes. Think about that for a moment. An employee earns money, gets taxed, and then tries to live on what's left. A corporation earns money, spends what it can on legitimate business expenses, and is only taxed on what's left over. This is a massive legal loophole that the financially educated use. Your vacations can become board meetings in Hawaii. Car payments, insurance, even health club memberships become company expenses. They're all paid with pre-tax dollars. But it gets worse, or better, depending on your perspective. Beyond the tax advantages, corporations offer protection from lawsuits. In our litigious society, many wealthy individuals hide their assets within corporations and trusts, creating layers of legal protection. When someone tries to sue a rich person, they often find that the person owns nothing, yet controls everything. The poor and middle class, however, try to own everything in their personal names, only to risk losing it all. This stark difference highlights a fundamental truth. Financial intelligence isn't just about how much money you make, but how you protect and grow it. My rich dad would often say, "I don't work for money." Those were words he would repeat over and over. Money works for me. This isn't just a slogan. It's the core strategy enabled by understanding and using corporate structures. If you're still working hard, getting taxed to the max, and feeling like you're stuck on a financial treadmill, it's time to open your mind to what the rich already know. Learning about basic corporate structures and their tax implications is a crucial step towards building your own asset column. Imagine waking up tomorrow with the knowledge to legally reduce your tax burden and protect your hard-earned wealth. This education empowers you to have your money work for you, rather than you perpetually working for money. The bottom line, ignorance about money, specifically about the power of corporate structures, is not bliss, it's expensive.
5. The rich invent money. Welcome back to Audio Book Bites, where we distill the wisdom of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Today, we're diving into a truly transformative concept from Chapter 5, The Alchemy of Wealth. The rich invent money. Kiyosaki opens with a profound observation. Often in the real world, it's not the smart who get ahead, but the bold. This isn't about brute force or endless hours of labor. It's about cultivating a different kind of intelligence. He challenges our fundamental understanding of what money is. For many, money feels like a tangible, scarce resource, earned solely through hard work. But Kiyosaki, guided by his rich dad, discovered a radical perspective. Money, at its core, is an agreement, a concept, not a fixed reality. And once you truly grasp that, you unlock an incredible power. As his rich dad famously stated, money is one form of power, but what is more powerful is financial education. This education isn't found in textbooks. It's learned by actively engaging with the world of finance, by seeing opportunities others miss. This brings us to a core philosophy Robert learned. "I don't work for money," were words he would repeat over and over. "Money works for me." This isn't just about having passive income. It's about actively creating the circumstances for money to flow to you. But how do you make money work for you? You train your mind to identify financial solutions. Let's visualize this through one of Kiyosaki's compelling stories. Picture the early 1990s in Phoenix, Arizona. The economy is in a deep slump. Real estate prices have plummeted, and for sale signs litter every block. Most people saw despair, fear, and financial ruin. They clung to their secure jobs, if they had one, terrified. But Kiyosaki's financially educated mind saw something different, a feeding frenzy of opportunity. He found a house, once valued at $100,000, now selling for $20,000. Here's the clever part. Instead of walking into a real estate office, he went to a bankruptcy attorney's office, or even the courthouse steps, where distressed properties are sold for rock-bottom prices. He found a $75,000 house for just $20,000. Now, how did he buy it with no capital? He secured a temporary $2,000 loan from a friend for 90 days, paying a small interest fee of $200. This $2,000 was his down payment, showing the seller he was serious. Once the property was legally his, he immediately advertised the $75,000 house for $60,000, with a crucial twist: no money down. Buyers, desperate for a good deal, flocked. He charged a $2,500 processing fee, paid back his friend, and the escrow company handled the rest. The result? A $40,000 promissory note from the buyer became an asset in his column. That $40,000 wasn't earned in the traditional sense. It was invented through a keen understanding of market dynamics and creative structuring. This was money working for him without his physical labor. He repeated this simple transaction 6 times in his spare time, accumulating over $190,000 in assets generating passive income, much of it sheltered by his private corporation. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds incredibly risky, like gambling. Kiyosaki is quick to counter this common objection, stating it is not gambling if you know what you're doing. It is gambling if you're just throwing money into a deal and praying. The key distinction is knowledge. Understanding market cycles, legal frameworks like the 1031 tax-deferred exchange, and the art of creative deal-making transforms perceived risk into calculated opportunity. Most people, trapped by conventional thinking, focus on working harder for money, which limits their vision to what's directly in front of them. Therefore, they miss the vast landscape of opportunities where money can be truly invented.
Imagine your mind becomes a perpetual wealth creation machine, constantly scanning for hidden value and structuring deals that leverage financial intelligence over brute capital. While others are stuck in the rat race, chasing paychecks and fearing market fluctuations, your assets are growing, working for you 24/7. This is the power of developing your financial IQ. The bottom line: financial intelligence isn't merely about managing existing currency, it's about mastering the art of creating wealth from hidden opportunities, turning what others see as problems into your profound advantage. 6. Work to learn, not just to earn. My educated dad, a brilliant scholar, would always say, go to school, get good grades, and find a safe, secure job. For him, job security was the ultimate prize. Here's the catch. My rich dad had a completely different philosophy. For him, learning was everything, not just earning. He ingrained in me that job security meant everything to my educated dad. Learning meant everything to my rich dad. This divergence in viewpoints shaped my entire career path. After serving in the Marine Corps, I sought out Xerox, not because I dreamed of selling copiers or for the steady paycheck. No, I chose Xerox because they had one of the best sales training programs in America. You might be thinking, why sales? For me, it was about conquering a personal fear, the fear of rejection, the fear of knocking on doors. It was about acquiring a second skill that complemented my existing knowledge, even if it wasn't immediately obvious how. The rich dad understood that true financial freedom isn't about mastering one specialized skill, but building a synergy of diverse proficiencies. Imagine an architect who not only designs beautiful buildings, but also understands the real estate market, tax laws, and how to finance the project. That's true power. He taught me that financial intelligence is a combination of accounting, investing, marketing, and legal understanding. It's not just about earning, but about how to make that money work for you, a concept he drilled into me. I don't work for money were words he would repeat over and over. Money works for me. So I challenge you, beyond your current profession, what second skill could you develop? What area of knowledge, even one you find intimidating, would exponentially boost your financial aptitude if mastered? Perhaps it's understanding basic accounting, or the art of negotiation, or even public speaking. Look for opportunities to acquire these practical, real-world skills that directly apply to how money flows. Instead of just reading about it, seek out learning opportunities that offer practical, real-world application. Go to seminars, find mentors, or even start a small, low-risk project where you can apply what you learn. But there's a difference between just learning and strategic learning. Therefore, always connect your learning to a bigger financial objective. Future pacing. Imagine waking up 5 years from now, not just with a higher salary, but with a robust asset column generating income for you, whether you work or not. This isn't just about getting rich. It's about gaining control, choice, and true independence. As the rich dad often reminded me, money is one form of power, but what is more powerful is financial education.
The bottom line, prioritize learning diverse, practical skills over immediate income, and your financial freedom will follow.
7. Conquering fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance. Financial literacy, understanding balance sheets, and cash flow patterns are absolutely crucial. But knowing isn't doing, and the path to true wealth is often blocked not by external factors, but by internal ones. Our rich dad taught us that before money can work for you, you must master the inner game of wealth. This means conquering 5 formidable psychological and emotional barriers that keep most people from achieving financial independence. First, there's fear, the paralyzing fear of losing money. Many people avoid investing altogether because the thought of a loss is too painful. Imagine if you never learned to ride a bike because you were terrified of falling. You'd never experience the freedom of cycling. Our rich dad said, if you hate risk and worry, start early. It's easier to handle losses when they're small and you're young. Here's the catch. Many people are so afraid of losing $1 that they never even try to make one work for them. They cling to safety, but that very safety often means missing the greatest opportunities. Therefore, to conquer this, we must first acknowledge our fears. Journal about them. How do they really influence your decisions? Write it down. See them. Next, we face cynicism, the Chicken Little syndrome, where every market dip or negative news story makes someone shout, "The sky is falling." This emotional reaction blinds individuals to the very opportunities that savvy investors seek out. Remember the story about the Phoenix real estate market being depressed, everyone running away? But that was the precise moment to buy. Therefore, instead of reacting emotionally, challenge cynical thoughts with rigorous analysis and data. Look beyond the noise. Our rich dad taught us, cynics criticize and winners analyze. Analysis opens your eyes to what others miss. Then there's laziness, often cleverly disguised as busyness. You might be thinking, I'm not lazy, I work hard. But are you busy working for money, or are you busy making money work for you? This is the core distinction. Many spend their lives in a flurry of activity, long hours, second jobs, yet financially they're on a treadmill. Therefore, we learn from Rich Dad's repeated mantra, I don't work for money, were words he would repeat over and over. Money works for me. The cure for this form of laziness? A little greed. Not the destructive kind, but the healthy desire that prompts you to ask, what's in it for me? This question sparks your financial genius to find solutions beyond simply working harder. The fourth barrier is bad habits, particularly the habit of paying yourself last. Most people pay their bills first, then their creditors, and then, if anything is left, they might save or invest. But it gets worse. If nothing's left, they simply accept it. Therefore, Rich Dad championed the radical idea of pay yourself first. You might initially think, but what if I don't have enough? That very pressure, he explained, forces your brain to become creative, to find new ways to generate income. It transforms the fear of not paying bills into a powerful motivator for financial ingenuity. Finally, arrogance. This is the deadliest of all obstacles. It's the belief that what I don't know isn't important. Arrogant people stop learning, convinced they already know enough. But in a rapidly changing world, what you knew yesterday might be obsolete today. Therefore, embrace continuous learning. Seek out experts, read books, attend seminars, not to confirm what you know, but to expand your perspective. The bottom line, your journey to financial freedom begins not with external opportunities, but by conquering the inner dragons of fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance. 8. Awakening your financial genius. The core of Robert Kiyosaki's philosophy isn't just about what to do, but how to transform your mindset. He offers a 10-step catalyst, a roadmap to awaken what he calls your financial genius. It begins with a compelling reason greater than reality. You might be thinking, I want to be rich, isn't that enough? But it needs to go deeper. What do you really want financial freedom to give you? Imagine waking up tomorrow, completely unbound by paychecks, free to pursue your deepest passions, knowing your money works for you. That powerful vision, that emotional why,
is the fuel that will carry you over any hurdle. Then it's about conscious daily choices. Every dollar that enters your hand is a vote for your future, rich, poor, or middle class. Many people mindlessly spend, but Rich Dad taught me that "I don't work for money" were words he would repeat over and over. Money works for me. This mindset is a constant, deliberate choice. Another critical step: choose your friends carefully. You might be thinking, but my friends are good people, and they probably are. But if their financial mindset is rooted in fear, constantly saying, "I can't afford it," or "that's too risky," their doubts will become your own. But here's the catch: by surrounding yourself with financially astute individuals, you naturally elevate your own thinking. Therefore, seek out those who are building wealth, who talk about opportunities, and who see money as a tool, not a burden. They don't just consume, they create. Kiyosaki also champions the rapid mastery of new financial formulas. He wasn't afraid to spend $385 on a weekend real estate class, a seemingly small investment that ultimately generated millions. But it gets worse. Most people balk at the cost of financial education, yet happily spend far more on depreciating assets like cars or the latest gadgets. Therefore, prioritize learning. What you know quickly becomes far more valuable than what you save. And finally, the most challenging discipline: pay yourself first. This isn't about being irresponsible with your bills. Here's the nuance: it's about creating a powerful internal motivation. When you allocate money to your asset column first, and then find yourself a little short for other expenses, that pressure forces your financial genius to invent new ways to earn. It strengthens your financial muscles. As Kiyosaki wisely states, money is one form of power, but what is more powerful is financial education. So, how can you apply this week? I'm challenging myself to begin shopping for financial opportunities in unconventional places. Instead of just scrolling through mainstream real estate listings, I'll dedicate an hour to searching foreclosure options or government surplus sites. It's not about buying immediately, but about training my eye to see opportunities others miss, just as Kiyosaki found houses for a fraction of their value. It's about understanding the game, not just playing it safe. The bottom line: financial intelligence is not an innate talent, but a skill developed through deliberate action, continuous learning, and a relentless pursuit of opportunities.
9. Give to receive. Many chase wealth by trying to take more, to get more. But Rich Dad revealed an often overlooked secret, a powerful principle that fundamentally shifts how money and abundance operate: the principle of reciprocity. It's not about self-sacrifice, it's about intelligent giving. My Rich Dad lived by a simple rule, one he repeated often: if you want something, you first need to give. This wasn't a suggestion, it was a fundamental law of the universe, a catalyst for receiving. When he was short on money, he didn't tighten his grip, he gave to his church or favorite charity. He understood that this act of giving first opened the channels for more to flow back to him. This perspective stands in stark contrast to a common mindset. Rich Dad would often say, "Poor people are more greedy than rich people." This isn't a judgment of character, but an observation of behavior. The greedy mindset in this context is the tendency to hold on to every last penny, to wait until you have an abundance before you consider sharing. This holding, this fear of perceived lack, ironically prevents further abundance from entering. Most people wait for abundance before they consider giving, but Rich Dad taught the opposite. Therefore, giving first activates the cycle of receiving. It's not just about money either. Think about your knowledge, your connections, your time. If you want more sales, help someone else make a sale. If you seek valuable contacts, actively connect others in your network. The more generously you share your insights and resources, the more those same opportunities, that same valuable information finds its way back to you. You might be saying to yourself, "But what if I don't have much to give?" That's precisely where your financial genius awakens. Giving is not limited to overflowing coffers. It can be a genuine smile, a thoughtful introduction, a shared insight. It's the intention to contribute value, not the size of the contribution, that sets the flow in motion. For example,
My poor dad, for all his kindness and intelligence, struggled with this. He'd often say, "When I have some extra money, I'll give it." But this "but then" mindset meant that extra rarely materialized. Therefore, Rich Dad emphasized giving first, regardless of current circumstances, to create the flow. Imagine a future where the resources you desire flow effortlessly towards you, simply because you've mastered the art of initiating that flow. This principle moves you from passively waiting to actively creating your own abundance. The bottom line: to genuinely receive, you must first learn to generously give.
10. A future of financial freedom. Conclusion. Throughout our journey with Rich Dad Poor Dad, we've explored a profound shift in perspective, one that can redefine your financial destiny. Robert Kiyosaki, through the contrasting wisdom of his two fathers, has illuminated a path many never see. His Rich Dad's core philosophy, "I don't work for money," were words he would repeat over and over. "Money works for me," isn't just a catchy phrase, it's the bedrock of financial freedom. The book's ultimate lesson crystallizes around this idea. It's about converting your earned income into passive and portfolio income as quickly as possible. This isn't just a strategy for early retirement, it's a blueprint for true financial independence, where your assets generate enough cash flow to cover your living expenses, freeing you from the daily grind. But here's the catch. This philosophy isn't for everyone. It's not for those who cling to conventional wisdom, the play-it-safe mentality, or who let fear dictate their financial choices. You might be thinking, but my house is my biggest asset. However, as Robert emphasizes, if your house takes money out of your pocket, it's a liability, not an asset. Therefore, true financial intelligence demands that you learn to distinguish between the two and consciously acquire income-generating assets. This journey requires more than just academic knowledge. Money is one form of power, but what is more powerful is financial education. It's about building mental fortitude, developing self-discipline to pay yourself first, and actively seeking opportunities others miss. Imagine waking up tomorrow, not bound by the necessity of a paycheck, but driven by passion and choice, your money diligently working for you around the clock. That future isn't a dream, it's a decision. The bottom line: your financial future is a reflection of the choices you make today, to learn, to adapt, and to act.